Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the first Wednesday warm-up hosted by myself this season. It's really good to be back on and speaking to everybody here. Got a couple of stalwarts of the This Is Ibrox network on with us. We've got Shug. How are you doing today, Shug?
I'm good. Another day closer to the new season. That's all I'm thinking.
That's it. And as I said in my tweet earlier on, you're buzzing to be talking about some Brazilians.
Absolutely. Love a Brazilian.
There we go. And Reiss, I'm going to call you our Dutch football expert for this pod, as I know that I've been on with you when we played Ajax, and any time we've been linked to Dutch players, you seem to have the inside scoop on them. But how are you doing today as well?
Yeah, good, Kev. Thanks very much. I was actually in Amsterdam in May, so I'm not going to butcher the accent or anything, but know a fair bit about the football over there.
There we go. That's not a Dutch accent you're doing at the minute, then?
No, unfortunately not.
That's it. There we go. But look, as always in today's show, we have loads and loads to talk about. We've got the imminent arrival of Abdallah Sima on loan from Brighton Hove Albion, which seems all but done. Apparently, he's up getting a medical today. I think we can expect the announcement of that in the next couple of days. We've got a failed bid for Brazilian Danilo at Feyenoord. We'll get Reiss's information on him and what he thinks about him, and a general discussion on where he fits into the squad. Discuss the type of strikers that the guys wish. Are we looking at the right type of striker? We'll see. With all this talk, strikers especially, will we be seeing a change in formation? I know there's been that fabled 3 at the back, 5 at the back, whatever you want to be calling it. But I've got a wee sneaking suspicion that I think we'll be going to a 2 up top. News that Mateusz Sikowski has joined Slask Warklaw for an undisclosed fee. Maybe not talk about him specifically, but just maybe the lack of outgoing players. And if there's time, we'll maybe do a wee overview on all the transfers that we have brought in so far. As always, just want to say hello to everybody in the comments. If you've got anything to ask us, fire it in. We'll do our best to ask the guys and give you an answer on it. And really good to see loads of new faces in there as always. But for those of you who haven't joined us in the Wednesday show before, I always love doing a wee on this day. Maybe bent the rules a wee bit in this for Reiss especially. But on this day in 2014, Rangers re-signed the Scottish Premiership's all-time goal scorer in his short second spell, Reiss. He scored 10 goals in 43 games. I think he'll be much more fondly remembered for his first stint at Rangers, but Rangers re-signed Chris Boyd on this day. I know you love him, so the floor is yours to wax lyrical about him.
Just my absolute hero. I still maintain he was a good player in a bad team back then. He'd scored 20 plus for Kilmarnock the season before. I still remember, I don't know if anybody remembers, the comments might remember, the weird kit launch we done that year. I think Rangers done it while we were on tour, and you had Boyd, Miller, and Foster on some pier.
Oh yeah,
they shot it next to the seaside or something, and it was everybody was buzzing. You Boyd and Miller coming back. You had the pal Ricky Foster joining them and all. But it wasn't a great spell for him, but it's a bit like Army Boys. You take him back whenever he's there.
Yeah. And what's your favourite memory of Chris Boyd in his entire time at Rangers? There's one for you.
The cup final against Dundee United, 2008 or 9, one out of two. And we drew 2 each in normal time. Certainly scored 2 of them, and then scored the one in penalty in the penalty shootout. So, what more can you ask for? Big game, big player. Don't ask me about old firm games.
There we go. And I've just been waiting on this comment from Scott Cameron coming in here. I'll bring it up there. Chris Boyd in the second spell at Rangers made Morelos look like a professional, a perfect professional in his last year. I think it's really hard to disagree with that. I think we can all kind of say that Chris Boyd's second spell definitely wasn't as memorable as his first spell. But there we go. A chance for you to talk about him, Reiss. And Shug, look, I'll come to you in this next one as well. Was in 2007 on this day, Rangers signed Demarcus Beasley from another Dutch team, PSV Eindhoven, for 3 years for roughly about 700k. I was quite surprised when I was reading this because in my head he played a lot more times for us, but he played 47 times for Rangers. He only scored 7 goals as well, but he'll fondly be remembered for that game away to Lyon, and I seem to remember him not doing too badly against Queen of the South in the 2008 Scottish Cup final. He left with 2 titles, 2 Scottish Cups, 2 League Cups. What was your thoughts on Demarcus Beasley's time at Rangers, Shug?
It was an exciting signing, but never really lived up to it through injuries and things like that. I think he struggled. The first season, it was the Lyon game, and that Lyon performance is one of the single best European performances Rangers have ever had. And from Beasley, it was probably one of the best individual performances in a European game for Rangers. He had phenomenal talent, but just injuries sort of compounded him. I guess he left Rangers as what could have been, I think in 2010. So remember that. But my claim to fame with Beasley was he was the first ever celebrity that answered one of my tweets way back when Twitter was in its infancy. He'd posted something about accents or something. I asked him something about what about the Scottish accent, and he said it was the hardest to learn or something. Which if he was playing with me, he would have found an even harder accent to learn. So he's never gonna. I guess he laid the sort. I think he was the second American Ranger after Giovanni Reina. So we've had our ups and downs with American signings. I think he's firmly in the middle of them all, above Polster, but not quite up to the Reina standards.
There we go. Yeah. Also, I'm going to pull you up there. You definitely called him Giovanni Reina. You've been watching.
I've been watching Dom and Claudio. I've been playing Football Manager all summer. So that's where I'm stuck.
Yeah, that's that exactly, man. That's so funny. But it's because it's all over Twitter all the time. Anytime he does anything, Giovanni Reina, and I know the US team, or was it the CONCACAF Cup or something like that, they recently won. So I know there was a lot of stuff because I know obviously we've been linked or had a lot of Americans playing with us. Had a big one last year. So I've got the US national men's team stuff on Facebook, and it was all Giovanni Reina centered. So there we go. But look, Shug, I'll stick with you in this one. The first point I want to bring up here, I think it's one of the now a badly kept secret, and it all but looks that Abdallah Sima will be signing for Rangers. I know it's been reported about it's like Sky Sports, so when those guys are reporting it, you can bet your bottom dollar on it that he will be signing. So it looks like he'll be signing on a season-long loan from Brighton Hove Albion. It's well documented. He started his career at Slavia Prague, and that was the thing. I was trying to remember him from. I seem to remember him doing quite well in that game, but the only thing I can remember him was all running away and almost celebrating that that goal that Callum McGregor saved away over in Slavia. But again, he was reportedly sold to Brighton for £7 million. He's been loaned out the last couple of years to Stoke. He only had 2 appearances there, scored no goals, but I'm understanding that it was, and where have you heard this before when Rangers have been linked with signing a player? It was injury-laden. And then the next move he had was on loan to a year over to Angers in France, where he had 30 appearances and 4 goals. He's known for his directness and his dribbling ability, Shug. What do you think of this signing?
Yeah, directness and dribbling ability. Kind of fashion Sakala-esque, I would say. I'm sure he's proclaimed he's a top dribbler. But no, hopefully maybe we're a bit more composure than fashion. It seems to be the route that we've went down with Michael Beale, and I know it is a route that we have to go down. We seem to be trying to pick up players that have been good and maybe lost their way a little bit. We've seen that obviously with Todd Cantwell and a lot of the players that were being linked with and things like that. It seems to be players that have had potential, never quite reached it. And I think that Michael Beale's the man that can actually get them back up there and they can turn them into top players. I've seen that the deal has supposedly have a clause in it that we can buy, just like Marek Tillman. A clause where we can actually make the deal permanent, which that would be my one thing with loan transfers. I would always like to see that potential opportunity, especially if we can make best part of £2 million out of it, as it looks like we'll do with Tillman. But it's we're talking about formations and things. I think it's the way Michael Beale's going to play. I think don't want to jump too far ahead, but I think it'll just be similar to this season. But I think he's wanting that front four, that 10 and the two wingers and two 10s and the striker to be interchangeable. So I think Seema can move from the right wing and he can play up top and things like that. So it is that interchangeable way. So I think he'll fit in. I think he was man of the match against us in the infamous game, the Glen Kamara, that game. He was man of the match against us at Ibrox, but
he was, yeah.
So if he can bring that sort of standard and that sort of play, then he'll be a right asset and he should be able to do real damage for us. So yeah, I'm quite excited by it.
Yeah, Reiss RFC72 here says, wouldn't look into the stats at Angers. They were by far the worst team in France last year and created absolutely nothing. But as supporters and fans, we can never help but do that. It's certainly for a forward, it's the first thing I look at is how many appearances they've got and how many goals do they have. I mean, that's in the last, don't get me wrong, his goal scoring record at Slavia Prague, I don't have it written down, but I think it was roughly a goal in every 2 games for somebody that predominantly played a bit wider rather than through the middle. Is it a concern that he doesn't have a great goal scoring record, that this is another forward that Rangers have been linked with that doesn't seem to, I mean, he scored, I think 6 or 4 goals in the last two seasons?
No, for me personally, I don't think it's much of a worry. I nodded when I seen RFC's comment. I totally agree with that. I think Angers last year were horrendous. I'm certainly had off-field issues and stuff as well going on, but I think it's hard to judge a player when he's playing in a basement side that aren't really going to create much. It's a bit like when you see the yo-yo strikers going to the Championship, to the Premiership. I don't honestly think the gap's that big. It's just that when you go from a ball-dominant team to not having the ball quite a lot, they're just really chasing shadows for most of the game. But with Seema as well, the reason the goals don't concern me is I think he's more of a winger. I think he's more of a soul-backing type. See the type that he's tall, he's quite lanky, he's quick, he'll get a run at you and he'll go directly to goal. But he's got that technique to be able to come in, have a shot and get a goal away. But it just remains to be seen. I think standard of keeper in France is probably a bit better than what it is in the SPFL. But I am excited by it. I think there's no harm in it. If we've got the option to buy him at the end date, that's great. But if he comes in, scores goals, contributes, and we end up winning the league, I don't know that many of us will be overly angry at the deal.
There we go. And that's Reiss just taking my next 8 points about Seema straight out of the equation because he's answered them all there. But I know season is Shug, like Reiss did say something there, and it was something that I was going to come on to. He was played out wide. I don't want to say as a winger because I don't know about you, Reiss, in terms of me looking at it and the research that I've done, he just seems to be, I don't know how to describe it, between the wings and the centre forward. You know what I mean? That's where the area that he seems to occupy. Do you think
he's a wide 10? He's a wide 10. Do you remember Beale said it on Twitter? We don't use wingers, we wide 10s.
That's that exactly. Do you think that's where we'll see him play then, Shug, in that position? You know, supporting a striker rather than being the main striker again, as Reiss has sort of alluded to there.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's his strongest position. But I mean, it's hard judging everybody on Chokla since he seems to be only like regular forward still at the club, or still has a future at the club, going by the talks of Cholak. But I see him kind of as a better version of Chokla, that he's not a 9. But again, he's not a winger. He just plays somewhere in between. And I think he's an upgrade on Chokla. But they both got that directness. And I think that's we get fame for playing, as we said, when Beale was here last time with Gerrard, the wide 10s, I think that's maybe what we'll be looking at playing again. And as I said, I think they'll be interchangeable. So there'll be times that he maybe go up front, he maybe go through it, plays a 9, and somebody else will drop into that position. They'll switch around. It'll be very fluid during the games because we don't seem to be linked with any 40 goal a season strikers. So I think it's going to be a bit rotational, and he's looking more for fluid players that could probably pop up in the left sometimes as well. Just horses for courses sort of thing. And again, comparing him to Sakala, I'm already putting the death stand poem and comparing it to Sakala so much, but we've seen Sakala at Rangers playing in the left, playing in the right, playing through the middle and things like that. So I think a lot of the strikers were sort of being linked with all these sort of players. They aren't just one positional players.
That's it. Yeah, I'll be very interested to see, because I know that's that wide right area for, I mean, as long as I've certainly been on this podcast, and numerous years before it, has been an area where every time it's like, what do we need? Where do we need to improve the right wing? So you never know. It might be an area that he goes into, but I'm very much with you guys. I think he will play in that. That's the football manager speak there coming out, and you reach the wide 10 is I don't have a clue what that means, but yeah. And look, I've got one last question, and then after I've asked this question, I've got a wee trivia question for all the viewers out there. But Reiss, I was at the press conference where Michael Beale said that we wouldn't be looking at getting loan players in, and this seems to be a loan player. I know it was talked about loads on Twitter, we shouldn't be getting a guy in if Michael Beale said we're not getting loans in, but this is maybe slightly different. I feel Brighton have got a history of loaning players out where they go and improve. I'm looking at Mitoma, for example. I mean, what do you make about this? Do you just think that maybe it's not a naive thing that maybe Beale has said, but maybe something that he's just sort of rushed and said, or do you think that Rangers should be looking in the loan market for players like this?
Kyle, do you remember when the press conference was roughly?
Oh, it was a good month, a month and a half ago, I think. It was a while.
Because my thinking is maybe it's now that Ross Wilson's went and Beale's actually come into the role that he's went, actually, if this is what we're working with and this is our options, then we might need to just bite the bullet. And it wouldn't be the first time a manager or Michael Beale himself has gone back on something they've said.
Yeah.
Maybe in an ideal world, I would get 11 academy players and we keep them on, we win the Champions League or whatever. But I think you've got to be realistic here. There's a certain level of quality that we can attain. If we can get a Premier League player, with Brighton, very good recruitment, as you've said, I've got an eye on, they want him to develop and think he's valuable, then it would be as well to get him in. So if somebody says to us, we'll loan you Messi, we're just going to go, nah, we said no loans, nah, Rangers shouldn't be loaning players. Messi, no, if he's no signing, we're not taking him. Like, see if the guy comes in, scores you, just for talking's sake, 15 goals and gets 15 assists, and we win the league. You get more money to replace him the next year with Champions League money for potentially a better player or secure him a permanent. I don't see the issue in it personally, but I think it's good to see Davy Weir working his connection. That's one a lot of fans have been championing for a while. So anytime the sporting director role came up, it was get Davy Weir in. We should be on the phone to Davy Weir getting players for Brighton, whatever. Maybe this is the start of it.
See, I always got to say about loans. There's different types of loans, and I think the only loans that we'll look at are ones where we can potentially then get the player, a bit like Marek Tillman.
Yeah.
Somebody that we can come in, we've got a price set, and it's a no risk sort of thing. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. If it works out, we get a good player. If somebody said to me we're going to go and pay £7 million for Seema, just now, I'd be like, that's a lot of money for somebody that's not did much the last couple of years.
Yep.
But if somebody says we've signed him on loan and we've got a £7 million option at the end of the season, then I'm all over that, because he's got the potential to come in, and if he proves it, then £7 million might prove a nothing. I don't think he'll be interested in the sort of the Aaron Ramsey type loans or the Ahmed Diallo type loans, the sort of end of the career and the they were never, with Diallo, didn't matter how good a bad he was, we were never ever signing him. I don't think he's intending on getting any loans like that. But ones that can potentially come in, do a good job for us, and we've got an option at the end of it. I think they're smart loan deals. It's almost try before you buy, to quote some rubbish advertisement. But it's I can understand them loans. Definitely don't want to see us filled up with players that we can't get at the end of the deal. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's exactly. That seems to be the chat and the comments anyway. I know there's a few disagreeing opinions in terms of the loan market, but there's a few comments I think I'm going to bring up here. Tunux here says could be that Seema wasn't actually a target, but the opportunity presented to the club and Beale's gone for it. Gavin Quinn here says buying 2 strikers at the beginning of the season. However, if he gets a loan spell and spends all his budget in Danilo, then I'm all for that. This boy Seema will score goals in the SPFL. I agree with that sentiment as well. Look, we've just mentioned Danilo there, Reiss, so we will come on to him next. Obviously, he's a Brazilian forward. His full name, and I always love it when you give the Brazilian football players their full name. It's Danilo Pereira da Silva. Obviously just goes by Danilo. He's played his whole pro career in the Eredivisie. He's played for Ajax. I know that's your kind of second team, Reiss, and as you said, you were over there watching, was it the second last game of the season or something like that?
Yeah, it was the last game of the season. Yeah, it was Ajax v Utrecht, funnily enough. Davies, I can't remember if he was playing that day, but another one been linked with as the Utrecht striker.
There we go. Well, I hope hopefully we're in the Ajax arena with your Bassi 3 top on there. But said, yeah, he's been at Ajax. He was then on loan at FC 20 and then he moved to Feyenoord. At the beginning of the season, by all accounts, he was Feyenoord's main man. I'm sure you'll be able to tell me. I can't remember the name of the boy that's replaced him. I know he's the Mexican centre forward.
Santiago Jimenez.
There you go. Maybe I should put Shug down as the Dutch football expert as well then. But yeah, he seems to be of a very, very similar profile to Cyril Dessers, Reiss. Seems to be a lot of movement, a lot of pressing. I see you're furrowing your brows at that statement there, but his goal scoring record is as follows. For Ajax, he had 17 appearances, 8 goals, 34 appearances, 17 goals. In Feyenoord, 47 appearances and 14 goals. Reiss, the floor is yours to tell us all about Danilo.
Danilo looks a very exciting transfer. He's one I would definitely get behind. I think Lammers, Dessers, just about everybody's been like that so far. I think the chat will testify. I'm usually the pessimist in the group that goes, oh, Jesus, he's not hitting 10. This, that, and the next thing. So, Danilo's goal record looks good. Definitely something I can get behind. He's used to playing in a team that's expected to challenge at the top of the league. He's used to playing in an exciting system, which Feyenoord were one of the best teams in Europe to watch last year, as much as I didn't like it. They were very, very good under Arne Slot last season. And I think he's just been unlucky. Santiago Jimenez has been a brilliant player, probably one that you could see either being a cult hero at Feyenoord for 5 years or transferring to a top 5 league. And Danilo's just been almost like a bridesmaid, but every time he's come on, he's still managed to chip in with a goal. But he's done pretty well this season. I was just looking at his stats there. He's started 14 games. He's averaged 40 minutes a game, or just under, 10 goals. He's averaged about 22 bouts of 90 minutes this season. But if he's got 10 goals and 3 assists, it's not a bad feat for a substitute. If it was a Rangers player, I think we would all be pretty satisfied with that. Now, we're not expecting him to be a sub. So if he comes in, especially for the kind of money they're looking for, he's going to be a starter. And you just assume if he's playing more games, starting with the rhythm of the game as it goes, he's going to do well for us. Wouldn't expect him to be much of a channel runner. His season heat map, if you watch it, is very central. He's a very central player. He's not going to go out with 18, I don't think. So it might maybe conflict with Beale's trying rotation. If he tries to rotate the front 3, might not suit Danilo, but it's definitely a transfer I would get behind. Plus, just as we were talking before, I looked up that Ajax Utrecht game. Duvikas did start, scored, and he was the big number 9 up front. That I was quite impressed with.
There you go. So you're telling us that we're actually looking at the wrong centre forward in over in the Netherlands, then, Reiss?
Duvikas for me, he did impress me in that game. He kind of stood out. You were looking at him going, "Who's the big lanky guy up front for him?" Like, he must either be really old or he's getting a move. And there you have it. But if we're going for Danilo, I can get behind it a lot more than what I probably could anybody we've been linked with before. So if we get Danilo, Seema, maybe a left winger in, I'll be more than happy for this season.
Yeah. Callum C here says if we can't get Danilo, we should just get Shanklin, and I'm bringing this up because Darren has then said Shanknilo, which I think is pretty good. You know, if his name was Shanknilo, I bet he would be in the blinking market for him. But there we go. Shug, yeah, I mean, obviously Reiss there's given us a wee bit on Danilo there and the type of player that we can perhaps expect at Ibrox. But what do you think of this profile? Somebody, again, for me, it's not a great goal scoring record, and I mean, again, you could correct me if I'm wrong, maybe a goal every 2 games isn't so bad, especially for Ajax, and especially in a league like the Eredivisie, which is similar to our own. Are you happy that we're being linked? Well, not that we're being linked. We've actually bid on a guy from Holland. What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it is. I think he's going to want 3 or 4 players to contribute 40 goals rather than 2 players contributing 40 goals. I think it seems to be the way it's going to go. I mean, Danilo, he just joined Feyenoord last summer and they're selling him on for the same price, which, well, they're looking for the same sort of price as what they bought him for from Ajax. So it's I don't know, another one that he's maybe rocked up and he's got all the potential and ability, and he's maybe not. I know that Santiago Jimenez had a great season. I only know because I seen he was linked with Man United. But you'd think if your big man was being linked with a move to the Premier League, you'd sort of hold on to somebody if you thought that, yeah, he's going to take its place. So it's maybe somebody that Beale's looked at and thought, I can get more out of him. And the good thing, I think, compared to Dessers is that he's almost at the other end of the age scale. He's just turned 24 rather than being 28 coming 29. So a couple of good seasons in Scotland and all of a sudden you're selling him to England for 20 million. Yeah. It's definitely one that I can't comment too much on because I've not seen a whole load of him. But if Michael Beale, he's been in the job long enough, he's been in Scotland way long enough time to be able to identify players that he thinks will fit his system that will win us the league. So I'm happy to go with Michael Beale on it and trust him on it. A bit like the whole Sam Lammers transfer, where it doesn't look spectacular, but Beale's obviously got a role in mind and obviously sees him doing something here that he's not been able to do the last couple of years. So again, if Beale thinks he's the man to do it and we're going to pay that sort of money, I would hope that it's money well spent.
Yeah, look, Sugar, I'm going to stick with you, seeing as you're talking about the money spending on it. I know there was a bit of a debate on social media yesterday between Rangers fans. Tell me a day where there's not a debate between Rangers fans on social media, but it was regarding the fee that was offered for it. It's been reported in the Dutch media that Feyenoord are looking for about £8 million. I believe Rangers offered about 3.5, but again, Dutch media says that if we offer about £5 million, it looks like we will get this guy. Where do you stand on this all? Do you think Rangers should just go out and just pay the £5 million or pay a bit more if we really want this striker? Or do you think that this is all just part and parcel of modern football and things like that? Where do you stand on it all?
Yeah, I'm quite happy to haggle and try and get the best price. It's that sort of way. I think if we go to the table with 5 million, they're wanting 8, all of a sudden you're looking at paying 6, 7. But they're saying they'll settle for 5 because we started so low at 3. Teams know the price of their players. We know the price of our players when we would sell, and it doesn't matter if somebody comes in with 1 million or 20 million. You know when you're going to sell. Feyenoord are not going to be hard up. They're Dutch champions. I'm sure they could sell a few players for quite a big, substantial bit of money. They'll be in the Champions League next season, so they're not going to be hard up. So they will be hard to deal with. If they wanted to keep him, we wouldn't get him. So, yeah, they can. But as we've seen with Dessers, I think we seem to have walked away from that one because we weren't willing to pay the money. And I think it'll be the exact same with Danilo. We'll have a price in mind as well, and we won't go above what we think. So we would think it's only worth £3 or £4 million. Rangers won't pay more than that. And I'm fully behind the club in that one as well, because that's how we got into trouble once upon a time, was paying too much for players that weren't worth what we paid for. So we'll have our price in mind. Final will have their price in mind. If they're too far apart, it'll not happen. But I'm definitely not one, because we're not a rich club. We're not the 1990s Rangers where we could just go out and spend whatever we like, more or less. We're not that club anymore, so we've got to try and get the best value for a player that we can. So again, it's another one we've got to trust the club on, and they'll keep us right and do the right thing. And I think with the new management behind the scenes and things like that, James Bisgrove and things coming in, I think they are no mugs, and I don't think anybody's going to take us for a ride and that sort of thing.
Yeah, totally agree. It's really hard to disagree with you there. I'm a firm believer in the opinion that something is only worth what you are willing to pay for it, and I very much believe, like you, that's the philosophy that Rangers are going down. Now, for what it's worth, I think we maybe will meet in the middle with a guy like this. But Shug there mentioned Cyril Dessers. If we do end up getting Danilo, I'd like to get your thoughts on it. As I said, they seem to be similar-ish profile strikers. Do you think that we will go out and get Danilo and then get Dessers, or do you think it's one or the other type thing?
No, I think being realistic, it's got to be one or the other, especially with the fees that are reported. I mean, we've just lost Ryan Kent on a an end of contract, rather, and we weren't willing to go above, 4 million for Lewis Palmer. So I can't see us going and spending, say, 5 million Danilo, because I don't think Feyenoord will go for 8. Feyenoord saying they want 8 is a bit like Rangers saying they want to take anything less than 6 for Glenn Kamara. That's how I view that one. But to spend 5 million on Danilo and then potentially 4 on Dessers, as a fan, I'd like to see it, but being realistic, there's no chance of it. But just to go back to VAR and what Shug had said there, we're not the same company, Shug, just in case anybody decides to jump on that. Did use the word club there, we'll get the VAR check on that one.
There we
Still
go.
the same different company.
Well spotted, Reiss, I've got to say. And seeing as we're on talking about strikers and all that stuff, Reiss, like I'll stick with you in this wee question here, and I think you know kind of what's coming, because I've been rattling on about the goal scoring for the players that we've been linked with. I see Michael Beale here brings up another guy, Josh Maja, which you can mention in this answer if you wish as well. But for me, I am a bit concerned about the lack. I just want somebody that scores goals. I mean, the players that we've brought in, like, again, we might come on to them later on, but your Dowells, your Lammers, your Seema, they do not seem like your out and out goal scorers. They seem like the guys that are there to set up this. I feel like we have a lot of players in our team that are doing this now. If you include your Cantwells, your Hadjis, and even your fullbacks in that as well. I now want us to go out and get a guy that can stick the ball in the back of the net, like your Chris Boyd. Where do you sit in that? Do you think that we are looking at the right type of profile of strikers? Because that's clearly what we're doing. I'm imagining, I don't know if it's John Park or even before Wilson left or whatever, that Beale has said, look, this is the two types of strikers I want, because Dessers and Danilo, you can kind of bracket into one. Seema and Traore are very, very similar forwards as well. So, yeah, I mean, what do you think? Do you think we are profiling the right type of striker here?
I think we're moving towards it. I think Danilo is certainly an indication that we're moving towards it. I do think Seema, I think he would score goals here. I don't worry about him just sort of being a creator. I think we've seen enough of him at Slavia where, like Solbakken, who absolutely tore it up at Bodo Glimt, he was very direct. See, when he was cutting in, it wasn't to find a wee angle or just like go horizontal the way that Ryan Kent would go. Ryan Kent would just go like parallel to the halfway line. Wouldn't go anywhere towards the goal, he'd just bring it right into number 10. But I think Seema's very. He's sort of halfway between Sakala and Kent. Sakala goes for the byline, Kent goes for the halfway line. He's more, I'm going for goal. He's a bit between the two of them. So I'm quite happy with bringing him in because I think he's another that Beale could add to his second strikers types, as in will have a shot at goal striker. Danilo, very good goal record this season, I would say. I like the fact that he's come through the Ajax Academy. It shows he's got a decent pedigree. He's been trusted enough to come through such a system where they're competing at under 13 level. I'm not kidding on. I mean this in like in total honesty. I was at the match. Ajax Utrecht, said it before. At half time, they were flashing up the under 13s tournament where they had played PSV that morning. At half time, they had the two under 13s captains parading the trophy on the pitch. And like the under 13s boys had their own graphics on the big screens and that, like celebrating a goal. So these boys come through and they're competing for an early age and they're expected to win.
Yeah.
So if he's only gone from Ajax to Feyenoord, it's a totally different ball game from the likes of Chokla, who have constantly been at lesser sides in the league. So I think definitely we need strikers because I'm getting worried about that one as well.
Yeah.
It's getting to the point where you're like, just do something, please. But yeah, I think Danilo I would 100% get behind. Dessler's not so much.
Listen, mate, that's because he's from Holland. That's your bias kicking in there, Reiss. That's what that is.
Dessler's not a Feyenoord as well.
I might have been at Feyenoord. I'm not too sure. I know he's over. Is it Cremonese he's playing for over in Italy at the moment? I'm sure.
Yeah, Feyenoord.
Well, there you go then. But look, Shug, I'll ask you a very similar question to that too. Do you feel that we are profiling the right type of striker? Would you like to see us being linked with somebody that that is scoring a bit more goals than the players that we've been linked with so far?
I would always love to see us linked with somebody that scores for fun. But I mean, there's no guarantees. Remember showing not quite my age, but James Beattie would come up here and score for fun, and that one didn't work out. So I think Michael Beale has got what he wants in a striker. What he sees, what he wants is that. I look, like I said, with llamas and things like that. There's stuff that on the face of it doesn't look good, but obviously Beale's saying something that he believes he can get X amount of goals out of llamas and stuff like that. So I know, but the same with Danilo and Dessers and things that other strikers we've been linked with. Beale have a certain, whether it's pace, whether it's the pressing, it's more than just the one thing. But you'd like to think there'll be some composure in amongst some of them, and they will take chances. So I think a lot of the times we forget a lot of these strikers are playing in better leagues than Scotland, and teams that don't have as much ball and don't create as much chances as we do. So somebody that maybe scores 5 or 10 goals in Italy could come across here and score 20, 25, because all of a sudden he's playing against absolute muppet defenders. And he's going to get chance after chance. I mean, I hate looking across the other side of the city, but you've got a guy that's not good enough for the Japanese national team, and he's been top scorer in Scotland for fun. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I don't think you have to be a Messi or a Haaland or something to be the top goal scorer in Scotland. So I think it's something that Beale will have identified attributes within players and things like that he'll believe that he can get more out of them here, and them getting more opportunities, they will score more goals. And it might shock you just how many goals some of these players might come in and score. I mean, if we're going to go down the goal scorer route, you'd think Cholak would have had a chance, but he's way at the back of the list. He's at the back of the bus in terms of getting any chance at Rangers. Beale was preferring I was going to say an unfit Morelos. Morelos was unfit for nearly every year he was here, but an unfit, uninterested, nothing but anger Morelos over giving Cholak a chance towards the end of the season. So he's obviously not wanting a one-dimensional striker. Maybe that's a bit harsh on Cholak, but he's obviously not wanting that. Just he scores goals and that's it. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what these players' figures will be at the end of the season. If only we could go forward 12 months and actually see, but it might surprise us that some of these low scorers, I know Alex is getting well upset with a number of 5-goal strikers we're being linked with, but it will be interesting to see how many of the goals they will actually end up with when all of a sudden, instead of 2 chances a game, they're getting 5 and 6 chances a game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm definitely channeling my inner Alex Donaldson here with this rant about the goal scorers not being enough. But Rangers loyalist here backs up what you were saying there. And by the way, good to see you're doing well in the comments here, Rangers loyalist. But put a half decent goal scorer and a good attacking Rangers team will score goals. I suppose you're right. 7 goals in Italy might translate to 20 odd goals in Scotland. You never know. But look, I'm going to come back. As I said, we are a podcast. I like it when questions come in. We have had a question from Michael King here. He said, guys, do you still think we need a centre back? I know we've predominantly focused on the forward area for the last sort of 40 minutes, but that's because we've been linked with 2 forwards. But Reiss, I'll come to you in this. Obviously, there's Ben Davies. Ben Davies it was well documented last season that he wasn't perhaps everybody's flavour and just lacked a bit of, don't know, I couldn't quite put my finger on it. It just, whatever it is, I just don't think he has it to play for Rangers, if you know what I mean, in terms of getting stuck in and be willing to, you know, there's a couple of times last season I was like, just clear the ball out the pitch and take the man with you. That's what we're asking for. But yeah, do you agree with what Michael King said here? Do you think that we still need another centre half, Reiss?
No, I don't think so. I think we've got 4 able centre backs. I don't know where the witch hunt for Ben Davies came from last year. I honestly don't see anything wrong with the guy. Like, even people are pointing to personal issues and that on Twitter, just as like almost getting this manhunt going. Like, we don't want to become some sort of Harry Maguire like entertainment business where everybody on Twitter's lambasting this one guy. Yeah. I think he's more than able. I'd put him probably on a par with Sutherland in the pecking order to partner on Goldson. I think there was a game, Dundee United at home. Goldson got done on the halfway line. Like the boy just knocked the ball by him, went right down the right wing, played the ball across. It's a tap in. You've seen it so many times. We've conceded from it, and Davies is there to help him out. He's the only one that can. Well, Shooter takes the ball with him, but Davies' passing is probably equally as good as Goldson's. And if you've got Leon King there as a 4th choice, ideally you'd maybe want him to go out and loan so he actually develops and plays games. But in the case that we keep Ben Davies, which I don't have an issue with, I don't think that's where we prioritise. See, while and Shug was saying Cholak's at the back of the queue, Cholak's our best number 9 at the club now. So fix that, then we'll fix centre back maybe in the future.
Yeah, the irony's not lost on me that I'm crying out for a goal scorer, and I hate this phrase, but on paper, Cholak looks like the ideal guy to have in a system where you're just putting the ball in an area where somebody knows where the back of the net is. But I digress from our centre half chat. And to your point about Ben Davies and maybe why people have been clambering for centre halves, like I think he made a couple of not high profile mistakes, but there was a couple of games he was a bit he didn't have his best performances, and there was maybe goals that people attributed to him, and the fact that Beale and again another press conference said, because I think everybody was a bit shocked when he said that we will need to, when he was talking about players that we were going to identify and bring in the summer, he named centre half, and I think that's when everybody was going, why is he saying centre half? We've got 4 sort of capable centre halves here, because you said we've got Goldson, Suter, King and Davies. Callum here, Callum C says Big Suitor will be a top centre back if he stays injury free. Couldn't disagree with that. I think he even has the potential to be a future Rangers captain if he does stay that. And RFC 72 here, if the comment is coming up. No, it's not working.
No, it's up. It's the one about possibly two.
I think Kyle Frost looks me and Yuri's.
Tell me I froze there, but Goldson picking up more injuries. I'm a bit sceptical of that. I think Goldson throughout his career has stayed pretty injury free on the Hearts here. He's maybe picked up one in the last year, but it might have just been a contact one, or he did seem to hurt his Achilles, I think, in the Old Firm game. I think that's why he maybe missed a few towards the end of the season. And you seen it as soon as it happened, he was trying to stomp it out. But I think Goldson's pretty reliable for the foreseeable. And sure, it's a bit like Kamal Roof. They're the best player in that position because they're injury free. But if I had made it as a football player, I'd be a millionaire. But I didn't, so I've no.
That's fine. I don't know. I went away there for a 30 seconds or so. Did you notice?
Yeah.
So thank you very much for that. That was well done. I wasn't expecting you to be chatting away there, Reiss, when I came back on. But yeah, look, Shug, I asked you a very similar question. Do we need another centre half? I know we've been linked with Panzo and Trusty especially. What's your thoughts on that? What's your thoughts on us getting a guy like Panzo or Trusty in? Do you think we need these guys?
I don't think it's lost on people that they're left-sided centre backs that we're being linked with. Hilander's just went out the door. I guess that leaves us a one short, but relying on Hilander, we've been one short for the last 3 years. So, my big concern with Davies was that he's not a kid, and as soon as Goldson wasn't there to hold his hand, was when the mistakes started happening. And that's the sort of thing, like, I always think back to Danny Wills and looked at World Peter when he was beside Davy Weir. And then as soon as he left Rangers and he didn't have Davy Weir holding his hand, all of a sudden he was struggling. And again, how many centre-halves that we had in the last few years that had looked brilliant beside Goldson. But as soon as Goldson's been out injured, all of a sudden they struggle a wee bit. So I can understand. I think Davies, for want of a better word, is a pretty defender. He looks good. He looks good at what he's doing and things like that. But is he the sort of guy that's going to put his head on the line and things like that? If it comes to it, I'm not entirely sure. And we know it's Rangers, so we know that doesn't matter how good we are, there's always going to be somebody that's going to be getting stick. And it just so happened that it was Davies that ended up getting a lot of it. And John Suter returning and looking really good. I think put Davies back down the pecking order again. I think with all the talk when you're saying about formations going to a 5 or a 3, whatever it is, I think Dujon Sterling can come in and play at centre half as well. But that's maybe where a lot of the talks come that we need another centre half. I'm kind of a reason that we only really need 4 recognisable centre halves. I think last year was a bit of a horror show when we ended up with Lundstrom and Sands playing at centre half. I don't think that'll happen too often when you'll have 4 centre backs out.
Yeah,
but it's Doc Wallace back, so we're not going to have any injuries ever again. So we don't need to worry about that sort of thing happening. So I can see. I'm with Reiss in that we need to get a striker in. That's a priority. But I do think before the transfer window shuts, we will see another centre half, and that'll obviously be accelerated if Ben Davies does leave. But I don't think he's going to, because with Goldson being out till the start of the season, the Champions League qualifiers coming quite soon. At the start of the season, I don't think we're wanting to chance our arm and having Leon King and John Suter as our first choice centre halves. So I think Davies will be here till the end of the summer anyway, and only then I think we'll maybe see one in, one out.
Yeah, that's it as well. Kudos to you for mentioning Doc Waller because I was very ecstatic when he was announced that. As Dean Millen says here, totally agree with you, Dean. Doc Waller is the best signing of the window so far. No more using sledgehammers to treat our players. And by the way, Reece, just see as a wee aside, it's generally one of my favourite things is when I put the comments up, watching your face reacting to them. It's so funny. But
I
yeah,
can't hide.
that's that. Why? Because I was laughing so much when I was bringing up the roof comments and just seeing you shaking your head. And I know I feel like this is going to happen with us every season. I love Kamal Roof in terms of I got to see him before he came to Rangers playing at Leeds, and he's a fantastic player. But I think I'm at that stage now where he will never be fit. He will not be fit for us, and if he does, anything we get is a bonus.
See with Kamar Rush, right? Like, see when he's fit and he plays well, brilliant. Seeing Christmas Day, Santa's brilliant, but he's not using April.
Honestly, I think I'm going to start calling you Ian Holloway with the amount of these wee stories and stuff like that you come up with. But yeah, again, hard to disagree with you. Look, Shug, I'll stick with you in this wee next point here that I just want to say. Obviously, the news came out, I think, about an hour and a half before we came on. It was one of the shortest news articles I've ever seen on the Rangers news website. It just said that Matej Sikowski has joined Slask Warclaw for an undisclosed fee. Don't want to talk about him in particular, but he's the kind of, since the five left at the end of the season, your Hollander, Kent, Morelos, Arfield and McGregor, he's the first player first team player that has departed. Are you concerned with the amount of players that are not going out? Because I think, again, my impressions of the way Beale's been talking, that he's wanting a smaller squad. And yeah, there's been nobody gone out so far. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, we say nobody. 6 are out already.
Yep.
So that's 2 more than what we've brought in. We've brought in 4 so far. So
yep.
I think football's turned into a 12-month thing. People are saying like that was internationals last week, and that's players back in pre-season training this week. There's not really a break and things like that. So all of a sudden, because pre-season started, we're like, we need all our signings in, we need all our signings out. When I would like to actually go back in the past and see when we've had 6 players out the door and 4 in the door before we've started pre-season. I think we're maybe ahead in some of that, but yeah, we've definitely got to get some out. But I think they will, because it's all sort of chain reaction. As soon as one player moves from one club, then they sign somebody, and it all goes round, and hopefully we'll see the likes of Scott Wright and things like that maybe exiting the door. A wee 5 million bid for Sakala might be accepted, something like that. Seen talk about Cholak linked with Bremen and things like that, but you don't want to get rid of Cholak because he's our only fit striker. So there's part of that as well. Not wanting to get rid of players before you replace them. So it's got to be, when you look at it, when you think the players we've brought in, they've really only replaced the players like Butland's replaced McGregor, Sterling's replaced Sikowski. Which the only things I know about Sikowski is he was from Poland and his girlfriend's famous on Instagram. I think that's the only 2 things I learned about him in his whole time in Scotland. I think that confirms that it was the worst January transfer window in the history of the football club. Sikowski, Ramsey, Diallo, and somebody else came in that window. That was 4, and there were Mins. So that was quite possibly the Ross Wilson's lowest.
James Sands,
there you go. So, yeah, a strike rate of 1 and 2 for transfers probably isn't great, but a 0 for 4 is an awful strike rate. So, goodbye to that January transfer window. Never let it be spoke about again. So, yeah, I think we will see players going out. I'm sure Glenn Kamara. I mean, well, Kamara went out the door and things, but Kamara just finished playing for Finland last week, and it's like, well, he's got to be going on a break and stuff like that before he sorts out his future and things like that. So we will see players go, and the squad will change in the next few weeks. But I'm glad that we've got a core, apart from maybe the striker. We've got the core of the team are in the door, ready to go. Friday, I believe, pre-season starts. We've got the core of the team. I know the internationals will be a wee bit longer, but we've got the core of the team ready to go. Because we know our biggest games of the season are going to be coming up in August in the Champions League qualifiers, and putting the sword into Brendan Rodgers in the first Old Firm. So, yeah, as long as you're ready to go for them and we win them, we get to revel in all the money that we make from the Champions League and get to enjoy seeing some sharks getting thrown across the city. That would be a glorious end to the August for me. But yeah, no, I think we're still in a good place. I'm not really concerned about it just yet.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. You've maybe put my mind at ease a wee bit there by some simple maths and saying that we've actually let go more players than we've brought in so far. But yeah, Reiss, it's a similar question to you. I mean, Shug mentioned a couple of the guys there. I mean, there's two in particular that I'm a bit surprised have not moved on already. Again, you don't know what's happening behind the scenes in terms of agents and all that stuff, but the two are Glenn Kamara, especially after his interview. I think he gave an interview post-match or something like that after a Finland game where he was already talking about Rangers in the past tense and stuff like that. I mean, it was a bit disappointing. I know, again, Ross of this parish was very disappointed in the fact that he wasn't, he was talking like he'd left already. And the other guy that I was a bit surprised hasn't been sort of linked more with leaving us is Borna Barisic. In fact, it's been the total opposite. I know on Scott's show on Sunday there, he was very much saying, and the guys in the comments were all in alignment with that Yilmaz will be our first choice left back next season. But there was paper talk of him being offered a new deal at Ibrox. I mean, you don't have to talk about those two guys in particular, but I mean, are you not concerned, but just getting a bit angsty about the lack of outgoings, shall we say?
Well, just to kind of go round the houses a bit with them, Scott Wright gone a bit quiet in that Preston one, huh? I know there was a lot of people who were dubious about the rumours to begin with, and that he was down at the training ground and he'd done a medical and he was about to sign a few weeks later, but it's not quite happened. That could be for a variety of reasons. Kamara's chucked it. See the Hearts game at Ibrox, the first 40 minutes that guy was out of job. He didn't want the ball. He was honestly just out of run, as if like, I'll keep myself out here. Talking about it in the past tense, I'd like to know how conscious that was. Maybe he's just not the brightest guy and, use the past tense. It could have totally been accidental and he's not meant it. But with Borna, I wouldn't get rid of Borna than him. I think we've got far too much uncertainty in the squad. You forget we've lost McGregor, Arfield, Morelos, Kent, whoever. But for me, Barisic is, I put him in the same category, and I said this in the chat before. Him, Lundstrom, I don't know, whoever else are not nows. As in, don't let them go the now. The guy's 30, he's a decent squad option to have. Used to be a starter, I don't think he should be. But he's not a bad option to have. There's folk I'd ship out quicker than I'd ship him out. He's 30 and arguably in his best season for Rangers, we got what was quite frankly a ridiculous bid of $2.5 million for Watford.
Yeah.
He's now older, played worse, and shown that his character's maybe not the most resolute. So where's he going to go? What kind of fees is he going to get? Is it worth letting him go and adding even more uncertainty to the squad? No, for me personally. Until we've at least stabilised ourselves, brought in more players, got a much stronger squad overall. Borna for me, I'd keep him, but Kamara and Wright, I'd let him go tomorrow if it was up to me.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I said I maybe slightly disagree with you on the Borna Barisic point. As what's the point in having a guy like Dujon Sterling in the squad who can cover left back, who can cover right back if you're going to keep a hold of Borna? Because I am in agreement. I think he's the crazy thing about it is I actually think he was one of our better players last season, but I just think Yilmaz offers you something different. But look, I think that's about all there is to say for tonight, as we are just about the hour mark, and we've covered plenty. I said, as always, I always panic that we don't have enough to talk about, and I've still got a potential change in formation, and maybe a sort of overview in the signings that we've made so far. But I'll keep that for Sunday, seeing as I am on Sunday's show. I'll be with Tommy, our managing editor, and Jock, I believe. But I just want to say thanks to the guests tonight. Shug, thanks very much for joining us tonight.
Yep, it's always fun. Looking forward to my next one because the season will be even closer.
Yeah, very true. And Reiss, thanks very much for coming on and sharing what you know about Danilo.
Cheers, thanks very much, Gail. Enjoyed it, and it's always therapeutic talking about Rangers and getting a few rants off your chest.
Yeah, it certainly was, and I'm looking forward to clipping some of your wee Ian Holloway phrases for later on. But I think I'll wrap up because I forgot to ask this verbally, but I fired it in the comments. There's been 3 Senegalese players that have played for Rangers. Just as I heard this as a wee trivia question the other day. I think El Hadj Diouf was gotten pretty quickly. Reiss, I think you got the other one, and Amdi Faye, who was brought up in that second spell under Walter Smith. I think round about the same time as James Beattie. Funnily enough, I'm in my head they were the two of them. No,
Years before, I think Faye was about the same time as Kevin Thompson, funnily enough, and Beattie was 10, 11, because that was the year I got my first season ticket. Beattie, I think he was froze again, but Beattie, I had, funnily enough, pinned my hopes on, and then Kenny Miller got 22 by the January and went to Brussels.
yeah, well, yeah. Sorry, I'm having a terrible time with the internet here, but yeah, so it was Amdi Faye was the other one, and the third one was a guy that was brought in under Paul Le Guen, Naktar and Daye, who again that was when I first. Yeah, I think he only had a couple of appearances, but fair play to anybody that got that one. But as I said, look, I'll be on the Sunday show. I'll be joined by Tommy and Jock. Thanks everybody for joining in. Nice to see loads of new people in there at the beginning of the season as well in the pre-season. But if you haven't already, give us a like and subscribe and turn the notifications on. But thanks very much, everybody, and we'll see you all again on Sunday.